and we are going all the way to America. I hope our friend is awake. He's not groggy watching TV all night and all morning. So Kumi, you're welcome. You're our first diaspora guest. Thank you. You are awake for us. And we'll go straight. Before we start, Kumi, we are going to play a little video to introduce you, and you will share your details. You write your details, and
okay.
Yeah, so people can connect with you. But we are going to play a little video to introduce you.
All right.
Ariston music. Ariston music.
Yeah, Kumi, I needed to introduce you so people will know why you're here. Africa is made up of 6 regions. AU divided Africa into 6 regions. South Africa, which is the SADC, ECOWAS, Central Africa, East Africa, and the Maghreb. Now, the 6th region of Africa is Africa Diaspora, and that's where you come in. So when we are doing the wonders of Africa, we are not only talking about Africa, the continent, we are talking about Africa also, the whole African experience. which includes you, me, anybody that is of African origin the last 500, 600 years. So we have members of the diaspora who are part of this project, and you will be our first diaspora guest. So I know you're based in California, and you have to get up very early now because it's very early. But I know most Americans are awake watching TV. so yeah, especially our brothers. So we hand over to you. So give us your 3 destinations, 3 from the diaspora, 1 on the African continent. So Kumi, you're good to go.
All right, greetings everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. My name is Kumi Rauf. I'm representing Traveling Black. Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor. I love to build with my African brothers and sisters on the continent, off the continent, on other planets, like wherever, we're all over the universe. So I started Traveling Black a long time ago, and then I just started taking people with me. So we started doing group tours because I felt like it was extremely important to get people to go meet each other. You know what I mean? Because there's so many stereotypes built up from over here. There's also stereotypes, on the continent. And there's no better way to get rid of those stereotypes and to unify as Black people than to us to actually go and meet each other, us to actually break bread together, have conversations, us find out about what's going on over there. Oh, you have this election, that election, because the world's eyes are on our election right now, but we don't hear about elections like, oh, what's going on in Ghana, what's going on in Kenya, what's going on in Uganda, places like that. I grew up in a very, very Afrocentric household. My dad spent a lot of time in West Africa in the 70s. He was actually following Fela Kuti around. And so I grew up with a very potent sense of my Africanity, is what I call it. But a lot of people here didn't. A lot of people here in the U.S. are thinking, oh, I'm not African. Don't call me that and this and that, because that's the way they've been brainwashed. That's the way they've been told. So anyway, sorry, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but yeah, I wanted to talk about a few different places. One on the continent, I want to talk about Ghana. And I also want to talk about a few places off the continent in the 6th region, the diaspora, as you call it. But let's start with Ghana. So did you want me to just talk, Ikechi? You want me to just keep going?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna put some. Okay, good. So yeah, Ghana is one of my favorite places on the planet for a lot of different reasons. Let me just rewind just for a second. So the way that we do things is not just taking people there, but we also capture media. Capturing media, I think, is so important because it's not just about, going there and this and that. Like, a lot of people can't make that trip. A lot of people don't have the money. A lot of people don't have the time. Maybe they're not physically able to make the trip. So we like to capture media. Like this photo right here, like most people, I don't know if I said most, but a lot of people here in the US, they have no idea that stuff like this exists, right? They have no idea that there's palm trees and there's beaches and there's beautiful hotels and resorts and this and that. And of course, that's not all of Africa, so that we don't just show them the rich side. We show them everything, right? But this is important to wake people up. We did a live stream right here from or a little next to that, called Labadi Beach in Accra. And people are like, oh, wow, where are you guys? Where are you guys? I said, we're in Ghana. Wait, you're in Africa? Yeah, this is Africa. This is right behind us. This beach right here. They riding horses on the beach and ATVs and partying up. There's DJs and food and all kinds of stuff. So it's very important to show people those things as well on the continent. So yeah, we love going to Ghana, obviously, because it's West Africa and that's where most of our ancestors are from. So we have a kinship with Ghana already. We have a kinship with the Nigerias. We have a kinship with the Senegals of the world and things like that, because this is literally where our lineage comes from. Yeah, that's a picture in right outside of Kumasi at the Adinkra village where they create all the Adinkra symbols by hand. Like they get the tree bark and they boil it and they get the ink and then they make the stamps out of bamboo, and it's just amazing. And that's another one of my brands. It's called I Love Being Black. That's the stickers that the kids are holding. It's called I Love Being Black. It's one of the largest Facebook pages in the world. We have 6 million fans on Facebook, like 160,000 on Instagram, something like that. And so we're just trying to push this message of positivity. All right, so let's I guess we can move on to the next one, or should I stay with Ghana a little bit? Did you have any specific questions about Ghana, or do you want me to just continue rambling off?
Okay, go ahead. Go to your next destination. You've given us Ghana. I love Ghana too.
Yeah. I mean, the food. Oh my God, the food. The groundnut stew, and oh my God.
Have you eaten tilapia with yam chips?
Yes, and hey, look, tilapia here. If you have tilapia in the U.S., it's very farmed. There's no such thing as fresh tilapia, right? It's farmed. It's nasty. It's almost a made-up fish, and it doesn't taste very good. But tilapia in Ghana, oh
Ghana.
Lord, oh Lord, yeah, man. The seafood very fresh, very very nice. It's tasty.
Okay, take us to your destinations.
Okay,
outside the continent.
All right, let's go to Brazil.
Salvador.
Yeah, let's go to Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. Salvador is one of my favorite places in the world. So a little history about Brazil. Brazil was the last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery in 1888, right? And one of the most famous, actually the most famous Black Brazilian ever, is a guy by the name of Zumbi dos Palmares. Zumbi, right? So he was an African, and he went into the enslavement camps and rescued the enslaved Africans out and took them to free areas called quilombos, right? So the quilombos is where the freed Africans would live and would stay and begin to build their lives. And then, of course, the Portuguese would try to go and return them back to freedom, but they would fight and say, okay, fine, we're going to leave them alone. And so those were quilombos. Something similar happened in Colombia and other parts of the diaspora as well. But that's a name that once I heard his name and read the history, I was like, oh, okay. Zumbi dos Palmares. And this is a parade right here. Every November 20th, they celebrate the Day of Black Consciousness. Now, mind you, that's in the month of Black Consciousness as well. So every November is the month of Black Consciousness in Brazil. I think that's extremely important. Here we do Black History Month in February. While I love Black history, it's not as encompassing as it should be, right? Because we're always talking about the past, which is great. We need to talk about the past. We need to learn about the past. We need to honor our ancestors, of course, but we also need to talk about what's going on right now. We need to talk about what's going on in the future and what we're trying to build as a people, right? So we don't always need to just talk about the past, right? Because it gets old, right? You're talking about the same people, this and that, every year, this and that, this and that. So I like what Brazil does with talking about the future and the present and everything that's going on right now with Black Consciousness Month. And they celebrate Zumbi dos Palmares in that big parade. There's like 100,000 people in this huge parade. The drummers are just killing it. That's Zumbi right there. Someone graffitied him on the wall. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I love Brazil. Again, the food, the culture, the music. They have some of the most amazing music in Brazil. Beaches, obviously. That's me on top of one of the floats for the parade. And we always make it a point to go speak to the youth. Every time we go somewhere, we go and we speak to the youth because I think that's extremely important. And I wish I would have had people, in my youth, more people coming to me and speaking to me about their travels, speaking to me about their experiences, speaking to me about the importance of being a globally minded African. So yeah, that's Brazil. I don't want to go on too long, but that's Brazil, one of my favorite countries in the world. Which other ones did I have, Kechi? I had a lot of things.
Belize, Hopkins in
Belize. Let's go to Belize, please. Let's go to Belize. Belize is another one of my favorite places in the world. The Garifuna culture in Belize is so rich. A lot of times when people visit Belize, so Belize is in Central America. So it's, obviously in between North and South America. It's just in the central, those few countries that exist there, right next to like Mexico and things like that. Belize, the Garifuna culture is so rich, and it's very rich in southern Belize, right? So, but most people just go to northern Belize. They go to Belize, they go to a couple islands, they hang out with the Belizeans, the non-Black Belizeans, and whatever culture that they can soak up there, which is fun and it's good, and they'll have a good time and they'll go home. They'll have no idea what they missed. You go to southern Belize, one of my favorite cities is called Hopkins Village. You got that, yeah. And it looks like a mini Accra or something, a very small Accra. There's like 3,000 people that live there, but it's a very small, like a village, and it's nothing but Black people. It's amazing, and the food is ridiculously amazing. They got this dish called hudud that I love. It's a stewed fish. They also, you'll see a lot of similarities with the food with there's me eating some food with the Garifuna culture food and like West African food as well. You see a lot of different similarities in that Garifuna culture. And they like to kick it. They like to get down, and every Easter weekend they hang out like that. So we haven't brought any tours there yet, but we're about to. We're about to do a tour to Belize. Another one of my most favorite places in the world. I mean, literally, I could fly to Belize just for the food and come home. As you can tell, I'm a foodie. That's literally the only reason I work out, is to continue eating recklessly. Yeah, man. What's up next? I think I have one more, right?
Yeah, you have Oakland.
Right, Oakland, California. So Oakland is where I reside. I'm here now in Oakland, California. Oakland, a lot of people don't know, Oakland is the home of the Black Panthers, right? So right here, that's Oakland, California in the 60s. And even on today, the Panthers still live on. A lot of their legacy is still here. A lot of the spirit of the Black Panthers, oh, that's me and my nephew, is still here. And it lives on today. And I think that's extremely important, because that spirit of freedom, that spirit of dignity for our people, that spirit of demanding better. We're not asking for it, we're demanding better. It still lives on today. And I think it's extremely important, that culture and that history, because I see little parts of that. I see little elements of the Panthers, elements of Oakland in a lot of different places that I travel. I was in Kenya, and I saw elements of Oakland. I was in, Belize in Brazil, elements of Oakland, Senegal, elements of Oakland. And even during the revolution in Egypt, that same year, I think it was 2011, I traveled to Egypt for the first time, to Kemet for the first time. And I met people there, and they were like, "Oh, you're from Oakland." And they were like, "Oh, we see you, Oakland." And it was like, we already had a kinship built up. And I was like, wow, this small city, there's only like 400,000 or 500,000 people here. They already see Oakland. A lot of good things go on in Oakland, and events and festivals, and really just people speaking up about injustice, I think is a very common thread that you're going to find here in Oakland, California. But yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. I know there's probably maybe another presenter after me, but
yeah, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
I love Malcolm X. I've been watching, even in the last 1 week, I've done his biography.
Yeah.
I comparing him with MLF, Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
Louis Sullivan, Booker T, Frederick Doug, quite a lot of them, but I like him. He was different. And was he from Oakland?
No. He hailed from Chicago, I believe. He was not from Oakland.
Yeah,
but like,
Nation of Islam.
Yeah, but Malcolm X is one of my favorite people throughout history of anywhere, of any culture. You know what I mean? Like I can quote Malcolm X backwards and forwards. I live my life by a few of his quotes, especially this right here, media. One of my favorite Malcolm X quotes, he said, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent look guilty and the guilty look innocent. And that's too much power because they control the minds of the masses. That's so important for us today as global Africans to understand the power of media, right? I believe that if Malcolm X were alive today, he'd be doing this. He'd be doing Zoom calls. He'd be on Facebook. He'd be on Instagram. He'd be doing all that because he realizes we now have the power to harness at least a bit of the control with media. Obviously, we don't own Facebook. We don't own Instagram and Zoom and all this other stuff, but we don't have to wait for a news station to pick up one of our stories and probably tell it wrong. We don't have to wait for a radio station. We don't have to wait for a newspaper to run our stories and tell it wrong, right? We can tell our own stories now. We can get our voices out there to millions of people instantly, just like this. So I think it's extremely important for us to harness the power of media. And I commend you, Brother Ikechi, and everyone else here that's on this Zoom call and just really being a part of this movement. This is extremely important, and I think that people like Malcolm, and Martin Luther King also embraced media as well. So I think that people like Martin, Malcolm, Huey P, like these people are Fela Kuti, these people are looking down on us right now and saying, you guys are on the right path, just keep going.
Yeah, thank you. And that's we are not doing the political part of it. We are using tourism and travel as a key to get the same message across. Uplift ourselves from poverty, create connections, create trade routes, create power, educate ourselves about ourselves, and get to know the African diaspora, and get the African diaspora to get to know us without having to pass through any filter. I don't need another person. So travel is the key. Was well utilized by the Romans. You create the trade. They conquer you, they create a trade routes, they create opportunities for their people to try and master your culture. Thank you, Kumi. And you are our first diaspora guest. The next week on the 20th, we are having another group of people. The diaspora guests will be coming from Belize, Madam Sharon. She's busy now with the elections in Belize. And she will be our guest on the 20th, and we'll get a lot more of the Garifuna, and all the other cultures of Belize. On the 20th, we'll be having Antona from South Africa, Charity from Kenya, and we'll have, what's his name? Larry from Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. And I don't know when Zambia is coming up, but we try to take one person from each zone so that we can, show more of the world, more of ourselves to ourselves, because we are the ones we are waiting for. Nobody's coming to deliver us. We are the ones to do it for ourselves.
And can I say one last thing? So when we went to South Africa, the first time I went, we were going to do a safari. It was extremely hard finding Black safari guides. And that's something that us in the West, we have this assumption that like we go to Africa and there's going to be Africans running everything. Right, but it's not true. And in a lot of different enterprises, safari's one of them. So we met a brother that does the safaris in Kruger National Park named Shoes. He was like the only Black guy, and he knew all the other Black guides that were all around South Africa. And he said because of traveling Black and because of I Love Being Black, he's recently started an organization of Black safari guides now in South Africa, a physical organization of them, so they're easier to find. I need to link them up with you so they can lend a hand with this movement because obviously going on a safari in South Africa is amazing. I would say the only ones better than that are probably Kenya and Tanzania. You know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, I think that's amazing to hear.
Okay. Let me tell you where we are going. A lot of Africans depend on non-Africans for basic everything. You have even African tourism associations are initiated by non-Africans, owned by non-Africans, run by non-Africans. And part of what I'm trying to do is let Africans, that's why we are trying to do Africans for Africa. We are trying to get Africans to connect themselves, to do the business themselves. There's so much money in Africa, but it goes into non-African hands. So we need more of you. Come with your skill. We have resource. We put together. There are close to 40-something million African Americans. If just 10% of them visit Ghana, that's a lot of money for Ghana.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they have the resource. So what we are trying to do in the next 2 years, before we end the project, we have gotten there. I know how he runs, and I am willing to go the whole hog. Thank you, Kumi, and thank you for joining us. I know it's early morning in California, and you took the time to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we round up, I love that. I love being black.